41, so in July is my birthday. So I was a little below 20,
Yeah.
few months.
So then they sent you to some camp or something for training?
Yes.
We'll go over all this again.
Okay. Yeah, I went down to, first place we went down near Naples,
Naples, okay.
Capo a Vetere. Yeah, it's a little town near Naples. It's a military town.
Right.
They have great big, we call it caserma. They're building, way big building.
Barracks.
If you look at Europe, film in Europe, you see them big, probably 5-story, 2, 3, 4 stories high, and the military live in them buildings.
Okay.
We don't have camp in barracks like the American do here. Corps of Engineer. We build bridges and with barges and stuff like that.
Sure.
And then they found out that I was, I've been trained as my civilian job was a mechanic and electromechanic. They changed from a Corps of Engineer. I was still in the Corps of Engineer, but not building bridges and that kind of stuff. They put me in more like in the automobile, trucks, repairs,
right,
and do that kind of work.
Motor pool.
Yeah, motor pool, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what I was. They ship us over in Tripoli, right across from Italy. Tripoli is right next. And we flew to Tripoli, and that war was on with Africa, and in Africa, with the English and the Germans and the Italian and the American later on, but the American weren't there yet.
Yeah. So it was the British, the Germans, and the Italians.
The British and the Germans and the Italian fought in Africa.
North Africa.
North Africa, yeah.
So in North Africa, were you out in the desert and stuff like that?
Pretty much, yeah. Most of the time we camp out in the desert.
Yeah.
There was time when you might be in town, little town, for some period of time. Most of the time we were in the desert.
Just out in the desert.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then what happened to you then? Did you get captured in North Africa?
Yes, well, I went through about a year, a little over a year in Africa. Then we retreat from El Alamein.
El Alamein. Oh, you were at El Alamein.
Well, I wasn't there, but my troop, or part of my company was. I was in the motor pool, so I was kind of a little bit below El Alamein. Yeah. Then the English broke through and they pushed the Germans and the Italian back, and they pushed us back to as far as Tunis, and that's what we was captured in Tunis, near Tunis. We were camped out in the big orchard where they was growing different fruits and stuff, wine and stuff, and we stayed there for I don't know, a period of couple, 3, 4 months maybe, before they capture us. We had a good life there. We traded with the Arabs, and we give them shirts and pants, and they give us olive oil and chickens and wines and about anything that we could trade with the Arabs.
Sure.
We had a good life. We lived good. We was sleeping in a tent, but as far as then we heard some news that the English were coming in through, they're breaking through that area, and in fact, an Arab come out and told us, says, English. He says, English is they're coming in, they're breaking through.
British,
we could hear the guns, and so our officer at the headquarters there, he said, you just be ready because we're going to surrender. I guess they had an order to surrender, and much you could do about it.
Right.
Well, if you fight your way out, if you want to, just whatever. So that's when we got captured, that area there. We still had a chicken tied by the leg in the tent, and we had one in a skillet. So we didn't starve. We always provide for ourselves.
Okay, so then, so then you, then you were there in North Africa, you got captured,
Yeah.
and then what happened to you then? Because
Well,
you,
after that, they uh, first they made a big raid, 200,000 prisoners in one shot.
200,000.
200,000. It was all on this area there where it was kind of a point that you couldn't go nowhere. The American was coming from the west and the British from the south, east and north and south, I mean, and they just closed us in a sack.
Right.
And we couldn't go nowhere. We had to be captured.
Yeah.
So they...
So was that all Italians, or was that Germans?
Well, the Germans, they had their own, you know, it seemed like that group where they caught us was all Italian.
All Italian.
Yeah, and they tried to separate us and kind of, you know, put us in a different camp.
Sure.
So there won't be no friction, I guess. I don't know what it is, but
Right.
anyhow. They rake us up and they put us in trucks. And these trucks were our trucks, Germans and Italian trucks.
Your own trucks.
They just turn them around and let the guy drive his own truck and load up the prisoners on the box. And then the trucks, they were loaded yet with all kind of supply, food and all kind of deal. And there was cans of any kind. So we sack up whatever we could put in our carrying bag. And we throw away a bunch of clothes that we didn't want to take, and we put in a bunch of food. We knew it was going to get, you know, somewhere where we're not going to get too much.
Right.
So they put us in a great big kind of a area there, like a great big prairie, but it was mostly sand. And they put a fence around, and I don't know how many there was there, probably 50,000 or something. We just like
Wow.
a bunch of animals, you know.
Yeah, sure.
And then you had to help yourself. And if you had something to eat and stuff, they couldn't provide right away. I could see where, you know, the problem was there. And so pretty soon somebody come around, and there was a group of Italian friends. We all kind of stick together if we
Right.
could, you know, help each other.
Right. Your
And,
buddies. So.
Yeah, it was all buddies, yeah. So they said there's a building somewhere with a tent, actually. They have some food for, you know, you gotta go out there and get it. So we went out there and they give us a little spoon of rice, little spoon, that was all not cooked stuff, it was all raw stuff.
Really?
A little spoon of rice, a little spoon of jelly, a little spoon of something else, you know, and put it all in this little, I don't know, little thing we had our own, you know, plate we carry along. What they call the...
Mess kit.
Yeah, mess kit, yeah. And anyhow, we put it all together and we tried to get a little something. But we had our own stuff in the sack. We had cans of food that we ate, so we didn't starve.
Didn't do. So how long were you in that camp?
Well, we stayed there probably a week and a half or two. Then they moved us to a different camp, and they had some kind of kitchen there. They was cooking something. It was more, control, you know, they have less people, and they split up that great big camp, and they separate us in, you know, in different camps. And this was...
Did they break you down so you had like officers in control of your groups or something like that?
Well,
Italian
our officer were with us, but sure, they didn't give him the authority to do anything.
Yeah, okay.
The American officer, generally they had an interpreter most of the time that told us what to do.
Right.
There was some, well, born maybe in America, but his parents were Italian,
Sure.
and he could speak Italian. So,
Yeah.
so he kind of lined us up and whatever. Well, we spent about, I don't know, 6 months in Africa. It was in different camps, and some of them were good, some of them not so good. And one camp they had, I don't know where they got this bread. It was all German bread, big loaf bread like that, and we was inside the camp in the fence, and there were two different fences. There was one, and then you could get to that, but you don't want to go over that. If you go over that, they could shoot you.
Yeah.
So on the other side of the fence, they pile up all this bread. It was like made out like if you make a fence out of bricks.
Yeah.
And that's what it was like. It was bread, and we couldn't have any for some reason, health reason probably. They didn't know, what that bread was poison. No, they don't have time to check everything.
Sure enough.
It's a war.
Right.
So, but we like to have some because we didn't get very much in that camp.
Right.
We was pretty scarce. And then one of our soldiers, this was an episode that I never did like what happened because one guy got killed.
Oh my.
There was an American soldier, and through the fence they was trading. This guy wanted some cigarettes, and this American, he had it. And he said, well, you give me some of your stuff. So I guess he gave him a watch or some valuable thing, and he threw it over there. And by that time, an American office come by, and they were supposed to talk to the president.
Right.
There's no trading. And he come by, and he see this officer, so he put out his Tommy gun, and he told him to get out of there. This Italian kid, he didn't understand what he was talking about. We said, well, he owes me the cigarette already.
Traded.
Throw him the watch,
Yeah.
he wants his cigarettes.
Right.
So he, they was arguing back and forth, and this guy said, then he shot a round on his legs, and he cut his legs right here, and this kid went down. The next shot, he got him right here, and that was the worst thing I ever, I've been through the war, and I see bombs and all that kind of stuff, but that kind of got me.
Yeah, that was a helpless
And
person.
I guess they got that military kid, this American soldier.
Yeah.
He probably was court-martialed,
I bet he
whatever
was.
they do. He probably told his story, but there was testimony, witness that they could tell what. Well, that officer walked by, he see him.
Sure.
Yeah. So.
Well, that wasn't any good.
So, well, this was one bad camp. We didn't like that. But anyhow, another camp was before they load us in this. Before they load us in this ship for coming to the United States,
Right.
they move us to a different camp, and it was a British ship, an American, not American, but British. And this ship was kind of a dirty ship. You could tell, they didn't maintain it very good. They put us in these holes, like you load up a bunch of boxes, that we didn't have any bed. We just slept on a metal floor. There was 400 per hole.
400 guys.
Yeah,
Per hole. Wow.
and it had a rough sea, real rough sea. And they build on the outside the ship, on a pruett, we call it a pruett, I don't know, it's the bow, I guess you call it. They build a rack so you could use as a bathroom.
Okay.
In other words, there was no bathroom inside it. It was a cargo ship. They didn't have all it, like they would military ships.
Right.
They had some bathroom, but they use it for their soldier, So we had to go in. To go to the bathroom, we had to
Over the
sit
side.
on the side, yeah.
Yeah.
And because our ship was going this way and upway, and the sea was rough.
Oh.
Everybody's sick, and that was a bad trip.
Now, where did you go on that ship? You left Africa?
Well, we went from one port in Africa to another
Oh,
port.
to another one.
We went to Oran. When we got to Oran, they put us in a different camp, and we waited till we was loaded to come to the United States from Oran, North Africa. Yeah, we had a little rough out there, but I guess that's about the size.
So then you got on the ship
The ship,
and came to the States.
yeah, it took 30 days from
30 days.
30 days from Africa to America.
How was that ship?
Well, that ship wasn't too bad. Managed by the American. They were a little more, what do you mean, civilized than the
Yeah.
British.
Yeah.
British were a little more, you know, they're like the Germans, they're pretty rough, you know.
Yeah.
They went through the war worse than the American did, so. Well, anyhow, we had a place to, where we still slept on the floor.
On the deck.
Yeah, we had no beds. And well, they kind of zigzagged from the different direction because of the submarine was still, German submarine was still around in the ocean, so they couldn't, you know, they had to do all that. And they had one fleet of, they were all prisoners, I guess, in different boats and different air ships. And we had a mine ship, you know, and they put a rake on front of the ship.
Yeah, okay.
And it goes ahead of the
Right.
convoy.
Yeah.
And
Mine clearer.
yeah, and they hit a mine, and it wasn't very far from our ship, and when it exploded, you know, our ship started shaking, and
Wow.
we thought, I already got it.
Yeah.
So a bunch of guys, they start climbing up the ladder, you know, to get out of the hole, and
Right.
and they had to hold him because they was going to jump overboard. Some of them, they got
Wow.
all excited.
Really got
They
excited,
thought
eh?
we got it. You know.
Yeah, sure.
They figured it might be. That was another episode, but after that, well, it was all pretty good. We landed in Norfolk, Virginia, and we got, they unload the prisoners. They put us in a great big, I don't know, yard there, and those benches, and they made us take our clothes off. We were naked, and open up a great big room with shower. You know, it was all, everybody's in there, and the shower tips were all up, you know, up above, and we all got cleaned up good, I guess. And then they set us in these benches, and they took spray guns like you paint a car, and they paint us with these spray guns. It's you know, disinfectant.
Yeah, sure.
It's
Like
powder stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like DDT.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Powdered
like
stuff.
Powder stuff. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, and just spray us all good, and then they give us some old jeans and shirts and stuff, you know, old used stuff, and it had a PW on it.
Yeah, the big paint on, yeah.
And they move us from Norfolk, Virginia to Scottsbluff, Nebraska.
Scott's boy, I bet you thought you were going somewhere, didn't you?
Yeah,
You'd never been over here, right?
We didn't know,
Huh?
no, I never was.
So you were just a kid, and how old were you then? About 22, 24?
Well, I was 22,
22.
23, maybe close
Yeah.
to.
So and there were how many thousand of you guys would you guess came from
Well, I suppose on that train there might have been a couple of thousand prisoners. I don't know. Could you load that many on a train?
I don't know.
suppose. Well, anyhow,
Yeah,
there
it
was
was a lot of
several of them. Yeah, the prison camp in Scottsbluff was in the prairie, very big prairie land, and pretty well organized. Had a lot of fence around, and the train stopped right not too far from the camp. They just stopped right there. You know, they made a special stop. There was no stop, no station there.
Right.
So we unloaded all there, and cause I don't
So
know.
what did you think when you got out here in the prairie? And,
Well, I thought
and-
that
and, you know,
this is a heck of a country. I thought America was beautiful, but that was nothing but weed.
right, that was just nothing out there. Right?
But the prison camp was pretty good. But the first few days they didn't give us very much to eat. It was all reason for your health reason. See, when your stomach is not
Yeah.
prepared for, you cannot load it up
Right.
with food, because if you do, why you get diarrheas and all that kind of
Right.
dysentery. So we didn't know, but there was already some prisoners across the fence, already filled up the camp. They were there for about a month or so. They told us, they said, well, he said, you're gonna go 2-3 days before they give you, you know, a normal ratio of food. So after that, we started eating regularly. We had a good bed. Oh, I like that. They had barracks, nice clean blankets and stuff. we lived pretty good. And we had a stove inside the building, in the middle of the building. There was about, oh, I suppose 15, about 30 beds in each building.
They're
And
like barracks, huh?
it's a barrack, yeah. And the bathroom were on the end of the building. There was another little building that they had the bathroom in there. They was all lined up. The stool was all lined up, and the sink and stuff. And it was pretty nice, you know. It's all new stuff. It was all water, running water, you know. So it was a little different than the Africa
Yeah, right.
type of living.
Just a minute, how's your tape?
It's gonna be close to changing in about 5 minutes.
Okay, well, you just stop. Okay, so then you were up here at Scotts Bluff,
Yeah,
and then what?
they asked if prisoner wanted to go out work sugar beets,
Okay,
and so, well, I guess it was pretty much mandatory because they have to make you work. This is the law. You can't work in the military ballistic stuff. You know, the Geneva Convention. We had all the rules outside the barracks.
Did you?
We could read our own rules.
Yeah.
The rules and the privilege that we have.
Yeah.
It's all done by the Geneva Convention for prisoners all over the
Right.
world, and so we knew what we could do or what we couldn't do, and so some of the boys they say, "Oh yeah, we like to go out and work sugar beets, so get out of the camp and
Right.
maybe get to see the girls, you know."
Yeah, sure.
It's
Nothing
just-
wrong with that.
So I was tired to go out. I didn't want to. I said, well, they need janitors. So I told them, I said, I'll be a janitor. That's my job. So they let me stay in, and I done janitor work, and clean the barracks, and everyone have to make their own bed, but I had to sweep. And then I go in the bathroom. I just soap all the sinks and the stools and stuff. Then I take the hose and wash it off and drain right into the. So it was a easy work. About 10 o'clock in the morning, I was done.
It's easier than working beats.
Yeah, there was several janitors, and we get together and we play volleyballs, and we had a good life there. So we stayed there for about 6 months, and there was an Italian lieutenant. He was an English teacher. He taught English in Italy, and he asked if anybody wanted to have this class of English. He said, for your own benefit, since you're going to be in this country, maybe it'd help you, conversate with authorities
Sure.
and soldiers and so far. So I went, and he started with basic, started learning how to read, and you give us the alphabet, it's a little different than ours, has a few more letters than ours. Basically it's the same, but there's,
Yeah, it's
there's
all the
several,
Latin alphabet.
well, it's got some W and Y's and this and that. We don't have X, we don't have it on ours, so
Yeah.
we had to learn all that. And then you start with learning, and every night we had a class. People that come from the field, they could do it too, So it was pretty nice. We learned how to write and read English, and we conversate with the soldier, the guards, they come around. Then they move us to Sydney, Nebraska.
Right.
That's where I start working out there. And over there, first they put me in the railroad, working
Railroad?
on the railroad, putting sand under the tracks,
Yeah.
how they do it.
Ballast.
And I got pneumonia, and they put me in the hospital, and the doctor told him that don't put him back out there or he's not going to make it. I guess my pneumonia must have been real bad. So they asked me what I knew how to do, if I knew any other job to do. I said, I never knew that one. They just put me there.
Right.
I never did work on a railroad. So I told him what I was doing in Italy, and I was an electromechanic. He said, well, we got a job for you. So they put me in this big building. By that time I I spoke English a little bit. You
Sure.
know, I could get around.
Sure.
So I started working in this great big building, and where they fixed this electric forklift.
Right.
You know, forklift. They use them in a warehouse.
Right.
Okay, instead they use regular combustion motor, they use electric batteries because of the danger. They store ammunition in Sydney,
Yeah, the
and
ordnance there. Yeah.
ordnance,
Mhm.
and they needed this forklift to lift these boxes and these ammunitions. So they had I don't know, 20, 30 of them, and that's what I was doing. That was my job. And my wife, my first wife, she died, Edith. You know that.
Yeah.
The picture.
That's the one in the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This young lady.
This girl here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This was just.
Well, now you met Edith over there at the
Yeah.
ordnance, huh?
Yeah, she was driving one of them little lift.
Is that right?
Yeah. They had another department there where they drive combustion forklift, and she had a little one. She was driving, and she was in charge of this little.
What was her maiden name? Do you
Ida
remember?
Rocker.
Rocker?
Oh yeah, her dad was your dad janitor.
Old John
Oh,
Rocker?
No,
Not John.
Nick.
Nick, yeah, Nick.
Well, you ought to know
Oh, Nick
that.
was, that was your wife, was Nick Rocker's daughter?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
She
gosh,
was,
I know all those people.
Yeah, I was over in your office with him cleaning up several times. In your dad's office.
Yeah, the old
Well,
office.
I guess you worked there too, little,
Yeah.
didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, you met your wife, she was driving
She
a
was driving this
over the ordnance.
forklift,
Okay.
well, the story goes that these girls, every morning they come out and get their forklifts, and when they have something wrong with it, otherwise it was standing in a warehouse where they work. There were several buildings,
Sure.
the different lumbers and different things, and that's what she was doing, moving lumber wire. And I knew where she was, and then sometime I had to repair some electrical equipment in these buildings, and of course I made sure that I got out there. So she was working there.
Yeah, I
and
understand.
sometime we had lunch together.
Well, that's nice.
They give us lunch when we take off from the barracks in the morning,
Yeah.
and the girls, they had their own, And so we got to meet each other. And then when we get back home to the camp, the civilians, they had barracks there too. In fact, there was no fence. They could go and walk around there where we were, and we could walk around where they were. We had a limit, that we couldn't go in their buildings, but we could walk around by.
How many prisoners were there at Sydney about, would you guess?
250 to 300.
Yeah, okay.
It's about all.
Yeah,
And Germans are about that many too.
same number, yeah.
Mhm. The Germans were a fence though, and they put a fence around them.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we had
See,
Germans here
the
too.
the war was still going on with Germany, but Italy was already gone.
I see.
When I got to Sydney, the war
In Italy was
in
over.
Italy, she surrendered, and then they allow the prisoner to be free on their own word. In other words, you can't go, you can't escape, but you could walk around, and you could go to BX and buy beer, buy cigarettes, and whatever you want to do. And we had pretty much freedom.
Did you get paid a little bit for doing
Yeah,
that work?
they when we started working, then they give us 80 cents a day.
80 cents a day?
Yeah, yeah. Before that was making 15 cents a day. So, we saved money.
Did you?
Yeah. They had a little movie house there, and they had a church. It was the same building, but they converted from movie to
Yeah, the
church,
church.
yeah.
Into the,
yeah. And it cost, I think, 15 or 20 cents for the movie, and beer cost around a nickel, I think, and cigarette was 15 cents. And we didn't need nothing, clothing and things like that was all furnished.
Yeah.
So We had plenty of food.
So in that period of time, did you get any mail from home, or did
Yes,
you write
yes,
mail?
I
What
got
happened
me.
to you then?
Well, when we was in Africa to start with, at the first camp, the French women and with the Red Cross come in, they allowed them to come into the camp. And they took name, everybody, they had several of them buses, not buses, but vans, they come in with the Red Cross. And they took name and our address and our name, and they send each one of the guys at home a message, a card, that I still had it, that we were captured, but we was okay.
You're okay.
Yeah. So
you're
my
okay.
dad got a message that I was in Africa and I was captured by the American English, and that I was okay. Mhm. See, I was captured by the
Oh,
English.
you were kept. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, this old English guy, when he captured us, he come over there and we were in the hole. A bomb exploded, great big bomb exploded, and it made a hole in the ground. And we just got into this hole, and so the artillery, went over. At least it didn't land it there.
Right.
So when they was shooting with the tanks and stuff, we were in this hole, and nobody got hurt. So when they start making the rake up prisoner, a lot of these British soldiers that went out and see if they could find, prisoners. So they come over there. And one of the guy, he forgot his pictures in the tent. And he says, I'm going to go get all my personal stuff. When we got off the tent into the hole, we was about from here to that tree over there. And he says, I want to go get it. And we told him, you better not. You're going to get it. You don't know. It might shoot you.
Right.
Well, he was married, he had the kids, and had all these pictures and stuff, and he wanted to go there. So a British soldier see him, and he told him to surrender, and he did. Then he didn't want to go alone. He wanted his buddy to go with him, so he told him, some way made him motion Italian, in the hole, So they come over there, and then he holler at us, and he say, hey, this guy, he's okay. Don't shoot him. Don't. We had our guns, we had machine guns, everything, but we didn't want to cause any more trouble.
Right.
So we surrendered, and he was glad that he got in with us. That we were all together, because we was all friends, and that was one of the episodes.
Yeah. So. So anyway, you were in Sydney. You met your wife, Mr.
Yeah.
Parker, and so then what happened to you then? How did you
Well,
guys
we
get
stayed in
together?
Sydney about 2 years.
Did you?
Yeah, and in 1945, I believe it was 45 or in the 44, we left for home. The war was over, and they shipped us back to Italy. And I told my wife that if she come back, she wasn't my wife then, she was a girlfriend. And
Yeah.
I told her where I live, in Genova, Italy, and I live right by the harbor, not very far.
Geneva. You lived in Geneva.
Genova.
Mhm.
In fact,
Oh.
my aunt, she took me when I was a little kid. My mom died when I was 9. And my aunt and my uncle, they didn't have any children, and they took me in, raised me a little bit for a few years till I got big enough to, to go with my dad, and kind of, my dad was a handful, he had work to do, and 2 kids.
What did your dad do in Italy?
Shoemaker.
Oh, he was
He had a
shoemaker.
store.
Yeah.
He fixed shoes and sold shoes, and
In Genoa?
Genoa. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I live right up above the harbor. My aunt lived right up above the harbor, and you could see the ship coming in. And so my wife come over, and this other lady here, she married another Italian.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
This girl here?
Yeah.
What was her name? Do you remember her name?
Francis.
Francis what?
Yeah, Hillier. Bob Hillier at a radio shop on West Main.
Okay, I kind of remember
He
that.
was tall. tall guy. She make fun of me because I'm short. See, she look at me. I says, "You're not that tall either." Well, anyhow, she and my wife come over to Genoa, and we got married in Genoa.
Well, good for you.
Yeah, had a bad time getting married though. We couldn't find a. You need a legal interpreter, a legal one, not just anybody that spoke English. It has to have a legal authority to speak to the judge, to get,
Priest and stuff.
well, the judge.
Judge, okay.
We couldn't get married in a Catholic church. The Catholic told me that if you get married, you have to get married in the back room, on back of the altar, behind the altar. Because she was Protestant and I was Catholic.
Oh, okay.
Well, anyhow, so we decided just to go to the
Civil
marriage. And when we got to the courthouse, I had witness with me, but they were Italian. And they said, you can't get married unless you have a legal interpreter, someone that it's authorized to say yes for her. That's all amount to. When I say you're going to marry this man, she's got to say yes or no or whatever.
Right.
But it's got to be legally interpreted.
Yeah. Okay.
Even if she says it, it doesn't mean that she knows what she's saying.
Yeah, right.
It has to be interpreted by it.
Okay.
So I went to the harbor and I figured, well, that's where you're going to find one, and there'll be, people traveling, they need to. I couldn't find one. Then it happened to be a person in a great big courthouse. We have a big building out there. It's not like here. There's probably, I don't know, many offices in there. They found someone in the courthouse that was legally able to do so. So he said yes for her. And that's when we got married. And then, of course, she, a few months, and she was going to have a child, so we decided she'd better get back to the United States because I couldn't get my paper. My papers signed, before the baby was born.
Right.
If the baby would have been born in Italy, when she landed in the United States, she couldn't be an American citizen till she was 18 years old. That was the law then. I don't know about now.
Yeah, I don't know either.
18 years old,
Mhm.
legal age. And so she come ahead of me in the United States. And then I come, the day I landed here in Sterling, the next day she was in the hospital. She had the first shot.
That's that right. So how many children do you guys have?
4.
4 children, is that right?
Yeah.
See, I don't know your kids.
Yeah. Marianne, Lena, Marianne, and Jenny, and then Mario. Mario's retarded. I got one here, you can look at it. That's my boy.
Oh, that's Mario, huh?
Yeah, he's retarded. He's in a home.
Oh, is
in
he?
Fort Morgan, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Can't
That's
talk.
too bad.
You look at him, you think that kid,
Yeah.
you could ask him any question you want.
Right, yeah, he looks
He'll
sharp.
answer right at you.
That's too
Say
bad.
nothing.
So you got 4 children.
Hmm.
Let's see what else. So then you came over here to Sterling and you started work here.
I start working for, that garage right next to you, office there, old Cochran Garage.
Yeah, okay, Cease Cochran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I work in another little place, but then after that, when Cochran, I had my name on. I give him my name and told him what I could do, and he called, and I started working for him anyhow. And then in '50, they told me that I could rent a place up Cedar Creek and start my own business, and Cease Cochran, and we work in commission, and most of the time we had to stand around by the bench. There was nothing to do, and we couldn't make anything.
Yeah.
And so I decided to go over there, and I went over to somebody signed a note over to not E.J. Barnes. E.J. Barnes was Mr. Town,
R.A. Town.
R.A. Town,
Yeah.
and he gave me $200.
All right, he did.
And I start a filling station with it. I had to buy gas for 2 pumps, Ethel
Bronze.
and regular bronze,
Regular, yeah.
and the oil, and
Where was your station? Out there at Cedar Creek?
Cedar
Yeah,
Creek.
out there at Cedar Creek.
yeah, you know where that
Yeah,
was.
sure. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you come out there.
Yeah. The boys went out there.
Yeah.
The kids
Yeah.
used to, my kids go out there and get, I had an old junk,
Car, wasn't it?
yeah, it was a 4-wheel, I think it was a Dodge Power Wagon. Well, it was old. And the stuff was falling apart, and
The kid.
so he was really good about, and Tom Pomeroy come out there with my kids, and they'd get parts for that old truck and stuff, and they messed around with it, and he helped them all.
Yeah, well, anyhow, I started out there, and I stayed there ever since, pretty much all.
Well, you had a pretty big operation. with
Well,
that
for a
place.
while then, yeah, I was doing quite a bit,
Yeah.
and now it's not so much because I sold it,
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but you had, so you got in the used car business?
I got in the
And-
used car
and,
business and repair work. I always done repair work.
Yeah.
And then I had salvage yard.
Right, yeah, you had salvage. okay.
Yeah. Then the United States government come around and they said you got to put a fence around, but we can't make you because you was here before the law come into.
Okay,
So
grandfather.
yeah, so old Lady Johnson had that beautification program.
Yes,
and,
Lindenberg or
yeah,
whatever, Ladybird.
She said that she had a little money to spend, so they said we're gonna put it around if you allow us to do it. And so they put a fence around. Cost $80,000 to put a fence around
Is
my
that
place.
right? Government paid for
Oh,
it?
boy, that's a wild bill though. You had to see it. Well, I'm sure you've probably seen it sometime. They put poles around 4 inch in diameter, about 3 feet in the ground, and they put concrete in each one of the poles. They had people working for, I don't know, 2-3 months out there.
Is that
putting
right?
that fence around.
Well, it's still there.
Still there.
Yeah.
Never did budge.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back just a little bit, and
To the beginning,
we got to start over because you and I got to shoot the
Yeah,
breeze,
yeah.
and Sherry got smart and turned us on. Okay, so now tell me your name. Okay, what's your real?
My real name is Emanuele Campanella.
Emanuele Campanella.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was born in Italy in July 1921
In
in Genova.
Genoa.
Yeah, right in the city of Genova. Yeah.
And you were raised there, like you told us.
Well, I stayed with my mom and dad till I was 9 years old, and my mom passed away.
Right.
She had a heart problem and she died. And my dad, it was a little bit a handful for two boys to, at their school age there,
Sure.
young kids for him to take care of. So my aunt lived there by the harbor, right next to it, right on the hill. And she decided to take me for a while anyhow.
Good.
So I stayed with her for a couple of years, I believe.
So then you grew up in Genoa.
Yeah.
And you got and you learned this trade of
Electromechanic. When I was about 14, I started working for this shop where they done
kind of an apprentice.
apprentice. Yeah. My brother was already working in there. He was already pretty well ahead of me because he's 3 years older than I was. And he was already electromechanic. He was doing work, and he told me about it, and I like it, and I thought maybe I could sweep the floor and hang up the wrenches and stuff like that. And you start, but
Sure.
soon you become one
Sure.
of them. So I learned the trade.
And then you got drafted in the Italian Army.
Italian Army when I was 20 years old.
20 years old.
Mhm.
And you went through training
Yeah,
there near Naples.
yes.
And then you went into the North Korean or North
Africa.
African
Campaign.
yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
And you were there and captured by the British.
I
We
was
went
in
into
the-
that.
I was in Tripolitania, and then when the American landed in West Africa, they capture us in Tunis.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. What was your rank?
Well, I was corporal.
Corporal.
Yeah.
So did that mean, did you have men under you as a corporal?
Well, there was time when they give you a little platoon, you know, to talk to. But I don't remember ever to tell anybody to do anything. Most of them told me what to do.
That's all right. Just did your job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't never into any situation where I could command the platoons. And the only time I done that was when we were captured as a prisoner. There was no authority then, but they took us from one place to another camp, and they loaded a bunch of prisoners on open cars, like coal cars,
Okay.
and we were
Train
standing up in there. And they give us, well, each one had a canteen of water, and we had a bunch of food that we carried with us. It's kind of a salty stuff. And it was in the summer, well, it was in the desert, you know, across the desert, the sun just beat down on you. And some of these guys have poor sense, and they drink their water, and, you know, they eat that salty food, and not using their head, you know, they didn't use their head, and you know where you're going to get. You don't know where you're going to land. You
Right.
might land somewhere where you're going to be without food for quite a while, or without water. So anyhow, we marched this kind of a dead march between the train station and the camp where they took us. And some of them guys, they fall off the side because they couldn't make it now.
Wow.
And I had a few buddies, and they were a little bit brainless too, but I still had water in my canteen, and I fed a little bit of water, and you know, we made it out there. And when we got to this camp, they opened up the gate. There was a big fence around. And what they did, they put a water tower in the middle of the camp, and they put a pipe from the water tower going to a trough, about a trough probably 60 feet long. And this pipe had a lot of little holes on top of the trough. The trough was wood. And they opened up this water, and that pipe traveled for maybe a quarter of a mile from that. And the sun was just beating on that pipe. You could imagine how hot that water was coming out of that pipe. And they opened the gate, and all the prisoners, they turned them loose. So everybody ran for that, for that trough to get their canteen filled up. And they push each other and fight and this and that. So I kind of took control there a little bit and told him, I said, why don't we take cups and give the one that needed the worst, you know, and then we got plenty of time to fill up. So everybody got to drink some water. That was kind of a miserable deal, but we got by that too. So that's about the only time I took authority than anybody.
Okay, that was very interesting, Campy. So but then you came here and you've been a really successful citizen.
Well, I guess so. I don't know. I'm still here.
We're proud of you. Yes, sir. Okay.
This picture.
Campy?
Well, my barracks where we stay, every one of these guys stays in the barrack. You know, we had
In
different
Sydney.
in Sydney.
This
yeah.
is in Sydney, Nebraska.
Sydney, Nebraska, yeah.
Okay. And they were all Italian prisoners?
All Italians, see.
And which one, you're going to have to show me exactly. Are you in the
Mine,
front row?
I don't have the green-gray uniform. I have the,
Khaki in the back, or about the second row.
let me get my glasses. I can't see as good as I used to.
Yeah, you need
This
glasses.
doctor here never did fix me up. See over
Right
here?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, you know, I'm pretty much separated from the gang there.
Okay, so that's you in the center,
Yeah,
and the two girls
yeah, one of them is Edith, my wife,
on the left?
on this one here.
On his right.
On my right.
Edith
Okay.
Walker was her name.
Okay.
And Frances Hillier on the left.
Okay. Was that about 1944.
40, yeah, 44, 43, something like that.
Oh, that's Sydney.